United States has enough wealth to pay reparations. I'm living in public housing. You break me off with $2 million, I'm up out of here. Whole new day. I might need a whole new day. You break me off with $1 million, I'm up out of here. Do I deserve $1 million? And I think that would be to shortchange myself if I said $1 million. But $1 million is a new day. Okay. Now I'm just now you know, for us, because we live in this. Remember, I made the allegation that the United States and West Virginia is still practicing an advanced form of colonialism, and it has a colonial history. This colonial style, though, okay, because they came out of the British Empire. They came out of Great Britain, and it's colonialism. So it's part of the heritage of. It's part of the disguised heritage of the United States and West Virginia. Okay, they I think they do some window dressing, but at its core values remain the same. I got to be honest, I'm pretty much the same way too. I mean, I have core values that believe that black people's interests should be first. Now I was indoctrinated a certain type of way through public education, okay, not to think this way. At some point in my life, I'm an Afrocentric too. I'm a librarian. At some point in my life, I began to see that the establishment was giving me a twisted narrative that wasn't in my own best interest. Okay? And then I began to be like, Now, for instance, I'm gonna give you another for instance. A friend of mine called me last week and said, man, my grandson, he already knows the police. He said the police don't. He said, Grandpa, the police don't like black people, no. He's 5 years old. Okay? So this is some of the offshoots that we're picking up from the George Floyd. It's impacting the whole social structure. Okay? See, I gotta include this, right? You're talking about George Floyd, but it's impact the whole social structure in a certain type of way. And I believe in my eye to practice peace. Now, the police officer should be a peace officer. He should be preaching peace, okay? To love one another, treat each other. If you don't love each other, at least treat each other respectfully, so we can have a civilized society, not civilized barbarism, okay? Now, so the police officer, he also should have a social justice aspect, okay? So those efforts at reform, I guess part of me says let them continue to go on, but if we're going to have to spend money for police reform, I would rather that the money on police reform go directly toward African American community development, the businesses, that African American museum, turn that school over there in Fairmont. I was telling you about that. Have you ever been to it?
I know where it is. Yeah, I've never been there.
Restore that school, make that school a base of operations where we could have discussions. You know what I mean? Sit down and talk, diplomatic discussions. The best thing to do is growth and development. Growth and development. Because if you don't get, let me say this, if you don't get growth and development, and with the stimulus package to some extent, we have an opportunity for growth and development, okay? But there has to be something in that community where we can, an institution to rebuild the infrastructure. I think Biden's talking about that, okay? The rebuilding of the infrastructure. I'm from Western Pennsylvania too. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. All that up there looks like shit. That's why I'm here. I'm a refugee from that area. All that up there looks like shit. The steel mill area, steel mills, I grew up in the steel mill, Pittsburgh Pirates when I was in the 70s and so forth. Now you go up through there, you know. So, you know, West Virginia got hit with the opioid epidemic real hard, you know what I mean? So, you know, we've talked about it. I've talked to you about a bunch of different stuff, and I hope I've stayed on, you know, been oriented. I just, you know, but my solution, you know, would be development. It'll make us, we're not going to forget about George Floyd and the many others that died, but we can take that and say that they were martyrs and look up and say, hey, this is what we're doing now. We didn't duck it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, yeah. have too much more to say. I hope I've given you.
Yeah, I was going to ask, if you have anything else you want to get off your chest or...
We're going to be doing, well, I'll say this.
Okay.
I'd like for you to do some additional interviews with me. Okay, I need you. Okay. And my camera's going. But while I have you, this is what I want to tell you. Fairmont, this is Reverend Katie Davis. I grew up in the Church National Association Church of God campground.
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Katie Davis came here from Virginia. She came to Marion County, and this was back, I think she must have been here in the early 20s. She started a church here. And these people, they got some land. They purchased some land in West Middlesex, Pennsylvania. She would make an annual pilgrimage to West Middlesex, Pennsylvania. The reason why I know about West Middlesex, Pennsylvania, because I grew up there on that sacred land where these African Americans had this area set aside. And it's my position that they set aside this land because they were being persecuted at that time, and they wanted to have a safe haven, a safe territory. And I think black people that are here in the United States, here in West Virginia, they need to have a safe territory where they can practice and be themselves without having to worry about some racist cop and that kind of stuff, where we can learn to love each other after we have to be traumatized going through what we went through. Because really, I think it's difficult to be able to get Caucasians to be able to understand, because I think for them to understand our true history, it indicts them to some extent, and they don't want to feel guilty. If you try to, say if you talk to me, and I just switched the tables around and said, if you came to me and tried to talk to me in a kind of way that made me feel guilty, I'd be like, back your ass up off of me. I wouldn't want to hear that, right? But for us, it's something that we continue to deal with. Now, you can rise up out of it, and there's examples of people that have rose up out of it, okay? And they're used against the collective. And it's because the United States is in West Virginia, these de facto states, are, to me, in my view, are practicing an advanced form of colonialism. We're still a colonized people. We haven't arrived at a point where we're determining our destiny. This, to me, because I grew up on that land, this is my grandfather, Clarence Moorman. There's a picture of it. Let me bring him out. Mr. Clarence Moorman, they called him Doc Moorman. He came up here from the South. I'm proud of him because of the fact that when I was a little boy, he told me that he had knocked out his boss down in South Carolina because his boss disrespected him. And so back in them days, they would get together and lynch you. And he said he came up from the deep South to West Virginia, and he went to work in the coal mines. West Virginia was big in the coal mines. All of my grandfathers worked in the coal mines through this area. Okay, and they were exploited by the large corporations. But they got a job. So but I just wanted to bring him out because they had land up there in West Middlesex. And I grew up watching black people administrate their own land. They had built homes and they had their own water supply. Yes, National Association, West Middlesex, Pennsylvania. I got to go back and do a report on that land. And she's the connection. My grandparents were originally, they lived here in Fairmont, West Virginia for a period of time, but they took me back in 1966 and we moved to West Middlesex, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Okay, it's part of my history, but part of my history is growing up and seeing blacks administrate their own institutions. And that's what we need to be able to have. We have more respect for ourselves, and others have more respect for us. Now, advanced colonization, gentrification, has taken that away from us. When I say advanced colonization, gentrification, urban renewal, you might get a prosperous black community begin to develop. They come in and wipe it out. Tulsa, Oklahoma, you drop a bomb on a prosperous, you know about that, Tulsa, Black Wall Street, okay? We had all these examples, right? So, as justice, not only for George Floyd, but all these other incidents, yes, what I was telling you earlier, I got this in my hand because I got to go do a report on her. Her church, I believe, is still out there in Reedsfield. Miss Katie Davis was exceptional. because people wonder, what is that black woman doing out there in Reedsville in the midst of all those white people? They never bothered her. They never bothered her. Her church is still out there in Reedsville. I got to go out there. I've never been. She was before my time. My grandmother and my auntie are both mentioned in her book, in this book.
Oh, wow.
She wrote this book. And she was going to Fairmont State High School Fairmont State College in her 80s. She went back and got a degree. Yeah, this woman. She used to teach. She used to have a radio broadcast where they broadcast from up there on the hill, Unity Terrace, through Fantasia used to own that.
Okay.
She would come up and do a regular broadcast. I'm telling you about these people because they had an impact on my life, and I use my my library to counsel me, okay, and give me the wisdom that I need to be able to have where I'm not acting totally on my emotion and passion. Okay, so that's all. And we're cool. You don't have to interview me no more because I could go on and on. Okay.
You gave me so much great information, though, and you know you're very passionate, and I can tell that you feel very strongly. So I mean,
come to the Juneteenth. Come to the Juneteenth and give us a good report.
Yeah, I definitely will be covering that. So where are they having it at? Palatine Park?
No, we're gonna have the Juneteenth at Windmill Park.
Windmill Park. Okay.
Okay, and you know, Morgantown is also going to be doing the Juneteenth. They're going to be doing theirs. They're going to be going 2 days, from what I understand, June 19th and June 20th.
Okay. Has Morgantown been having Juneteenth?
Juneteenth, Morgantown had their first Juneteenth last year.
Okay.
Well, through WVU had their first Juneteenth last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there had been a previous Juneteenth over in Morgantown, organized by some local people, but it didn't catch on. They weren't consistent. Really, I told you, we've been doing it since 2011, and we've been relatively consistent. Now we missed a year in there, but we've been relatively consistent in doing the Juneteenth. Okay, so.
Well, thank you so much for letting me come into your home and talk to you, and I know it's not easy sometimes, so.
Well, it's easy for me because this is what I kind of do. See, I haven't put you on camera. There you go. It's easy for me because this is what I do, and I have to promote myself. What I do is I got my own video cameras. I collect information, collect evidence. I research. That's why you see all these cameras and all this information up in here.
Right.
Because the narrative I was operating on wasn't in my best interest. And it was the narrative that was given to me from public education. But it was also mixed with, to give me a sense of inferiority. I had to come up out of that, especially if you're getting your ass beat. You know what I'm saying? You got to come up, you got to work what works best for you.
Yeah.
Okay? So when I told you about a section of the city budget must come directly for black upkeep and development, a section of the county, state, federal, and all these various corporations, that's saying that we got to be first. That's kind of a bold move. Talk, but if you know what you need, you got a chance to get that. You got to let people know what you want, what you need. I think that's what we need. I think we're entitled. I think logically, we would be entitled to. My plan or my theory was that we would get a proportion based upon our statistics, our numbers in the area. A proportion would come back to us. So if you was 4% of the overall population, we would get 4% of the overall budget. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure we're getting 4% of the overall budget, you know what I'm saying? If we were, well, for instance, over here in Morgantown, say we're 10% of the city, okay? I would say like a certain portion of that would go to our upkeep and development, okay? And I'm gonna say no more about it because I got more work to do to it, and I'm trying to be able to link up with some professionals where I can get it endorsed, okay? Yeah, where I can get it endorsed, because I'm a quasi-professional. You know, I go through books and I study, but I don't got no, I'm not lettered. And it doesn't bother me, because if I was lettered, I might not be able to say what I want to say. I might not think the way I think if I was lettered. I might think like somebody that's lettered, got a degree of information, and once they get their degree, they think they got it all.
Right.
And they ain't got nothing, because we ain't building factories and hospitals to employ ourselves.
Right.
You just got a job and a title, walking around with your nose in the air, thinking you're better. And this is what I call advanced colonization, taking some of the best people that we got that should be working for us. When I say working for us, working for the collective development of the African American community. But no, they're not working for us. They're working to be able to get their bag. So now, and that's a remnant of slavery that had never been properly addressed. I got some books over there. Take a look at those books while you're.
I was gonna say, you got quite.
I got a library over here.
You got quite a collection.
Yeah, you can take a look. What I got is I got you've seen They Came Before Columbus. I got Frida Land. It's a brand. Frida Land is a. I wish I could pull my video camera. Let me pull my video camera up. We're gonna go over here, and I'm gonna let you get out of here. Okay?
It's okay. Take your time. I'm not in a rush to get anywhere. So.
Yeah, I found it necessary to have an extensive library. This book just come out, Frida Land, The Republic of New Africa and the Pursuit of a Black Nation State. Nobody knows that back in March 28 of 1968, 500 black people met in Detroit and declared a declaration of New Africa, meaning that they saying that we are a nation within a nation. We had our own disposition, our own way of being. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they believed that that was self-determination. The government quickly moved to pound them out. They moved from Detroit down to Jackson. They're still functional. Okay. Floyd McKissick, 3/5 of a man. He was a lawyer from down there in North Carolina. He helped develop the project that the Republicans endorsed called Soul City. It was a good project, and later on it was undermined, where they were going to build these ideal cities for black people, and not just black people, but black people and low-income people where they could go and advance. They could go there, and it's built for them specifically. The first one was Soul City. Again, later on the project was undermined. He had problems with Jesse Helms, and he undermined it. So Floyd McKissick. But I give him props because we just need to tweak that idea. White image in the black mind. African American ideas about white people going back to 1830 to 1925. An important period, because that's the period right before slavery. These are the ideas and much of the information, stereotypes and stuff that we, and the book of Khalid Muhammad. I have that book because I worked with attorney Shabazz on a hate crimes case. And let me take you over here. Got some articles on the wall. And then I'm going to let you go. I'll show you what I got here. I keep this, right? Because back in 2007, Megan Williams was kidnapped and tortured down in Charleston. And I got appointed as a state investigator from a law firm in D.C. And we had a hate crimes march down there. We had about 1,200 people.
Wow.
And it led to the first hate crimes conviction at that time in Southern Prescott. Yeah. See, drawing attention to the right things at the right time, because this happened at the same time. Do you remember the situation where the Jena 6 situation? I don't know if you might not be old enough to remember that, but the Jena 6 situation was going on at that time.
Okay.
And people were quickly mobilized from out there to here in West Virginia when they heard about this case. She had been kidnapped by 6 whites down there and raped and tortured. And they refused, at that particular time, they refused to charge the people with a hate crime. We had this march, and the prosecutor flip-flopped and said, I gotta do it. Boy, look, I was a state investigator on that case. They got busted red-handed. They called the girl, they said, this is what we do to niggers when they come out here, and stabbed her. Yeah, that type of stuff. Yeah. And people in Charleston, or people throughout the state, they really wasn't inflamed. But the people on the national level were inflamed about it. The state kind of tried to play it down because it made the state look bad. It kind of played into West Virginia being racist, okay? And that's not good for business.
Right.
Okay.
Definitely.
But this case right here was a case that I had in Farrell, Pennsylvania. I got acquitted. I had to represent myself. I had a black lawyer that they appointed me, and that lawyer, I said, man, I want you to file a motion to dismiss these charges, right? Because I was just walking, I was riding my bicycle up the hill. Some guy yelled out the window, hey, punk. I didn't know who he was. And me and him got in a fight, and he went down, but they took it and they tried to put me in prison for 12 years behind that. Yeah, but the community showed me support, and I got acquitted. Okay, yeah. So these are some of the stuff that I have. I got a bunch of different news articles and stuff over the years. I also sell these incense and body oils, right, as a little bit of an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As a way of you look like an incense body. I see you got the little nose ring.
I don't really like incense, but it's alright.
Okay.
My best friend really likes it.
She likes incense?
Yeah.
And so you're from Morgantown, you said?
I grew up in Fairmont, but my parents moved us to Morgantown like when I was in high school, so.
Oh.
But I went to WVU and everything, and I live in Morgantown now, so.
You like Morgantown better than Fairmont? Tell us. More things to do over here than what it is.
There's more to do. It's kind of sad because I hadn't really been to Fairmont much since I left there, and it's just, I don't know what the hell is happening there. I don't.
Well, I'm originally I was born in Fairmont, okay? And so I've been over here in Morgantown for like the last 25 years. I had access to more opportunities over here in Morgantown. When I came over here in '96. And I worked in the school down here. They flew me to Atlanta and got training. Worked at the television station. Bottom line, I had to tell a friend of mine, bottom line, if you want to get out there and you want to work, you can at one time I knew you could work here in Morgantown. Now, does some of the same things here in Morgantown happen that might happen in Fairmont or any other city throughout West Virginia or the nation? Of course, the same thing. But because of university, and it promotes itself as an inclusive city, which I don't necessarily go along with that. Just be yourself and treat me with courtesy. You ain't gotta love me, just treat me with courtesy. But then it promotes inclusion and so forth. So that's the idea that people should be able to get along with one another.
I agree.
How old are you?
28.
28, okay. You got any children yet? See?
Not interested.
You're not interested in having children?
I don't even have a boyfriend.
Look how they're doing women now. See, well, you're 28 years old without a child.
Yeah. Well, I can't even take care of myself.
At 28?
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to do? I mean...
So I talked to a couple other people, so we're going to edit the video down and do a video, and then we'll do an article, too.
Okay.
So.
Keep me posted on when you're going to do the article.
Yeah, I'll let you know for sure.
Okay.
And I really do appreciate everything. Thank you for the water, too. I really appreciate
Well, you can take that. And your editor's name, what's his name?
Eric Gravy.
Yeah, because I think let me sure. I got his, when I came through with the, Eric Gravy. Yeah, I got his email address and his cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want anything in the meantime, or like when you want stuff like covered, like stories you think are good ideas, yeah, give us a call.
Give him a huh?
Yeah.
Okay, now since I got his direct contact, that story I told you about on Katie Davis, I'd like to be a part of that. I think her church is still out there in Reedsville.
Okay.
Now, how old is Eric?
He's probably in his 50s.
Is he from
He's not from here. He's from Georgia.
He's from Georgia? I'm going to have to get in contact with her because I definitely believe she needs to be talked about. It's so much so that there needs to be like a marker there where her church is at to recognize her. I don't think there's a marker there at Dunbar High School either. I don't think there's a marker out there. I have to go back and check, but I don't think there's a marker out there. And there should be. Okay? So this is some of the work that has to be done. Okay, I'm going to let you get out of here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was so nice to talk to you.
Well, remember, I'm going to walk you downstairs.
Okay.